Hello, this is Victor from RestoreYourMercedes.com. This video is for Mark and Oliver in Switzerland. Okay guys, so these are both units here as I received them. Now, they were not really nicely done. I mean, I don't know where to start. Okay, well, first we start on the passenger side unit. As you can see, somebody removed this gear, they welded it back, they put some washer to it so it will not fall off. They also opened up the motor. As you can see, this wire is quite loose here. It's not really a big problem. The only problem I see is when they opened it up, they didn't close it back normally, so there could be gaps here. It's not super crazy problem, because the biggest concern is if the motor spins correctly and if brushes inside are okay. To me, the motor spins and it seems to be working. I would like to see what's inside, but I need to get your okay to do so, because it seems like it's working, and I'm going to demonstrate you the operation right now. I just get to work on these units as I finished 2 units here and another one over there, so I have a little time right now to get to work on yours. And these are on the bench test right now, and yours I'm gonna work on. I just wanted to give you some heads up and get your okay on what I'm trying to do here. Okay, first things here, I can leave the motor as it is, let it sit inside because it does work, and I'm just gonna test this unit on my car. The problem is this connector. This is not original, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect the one of the spare connectors from my testing devices, like one of those, this is the connector that's supposed to be with the car originally, so I'm gonna just unsolder it and I'll use it to connect it to my vehicle. So that's just to test if this unit works correctly. I will solder it directly to the board. They also use quite thick wires, very bad, poor soldering job. As you can see, the wires in there, they're just breaking off. As you can see, they're not even in correctly. See, it's like very little wire left to touch, which is quite terrible. These are okay, but that one, for example, is just on its last here. So that, if I move it more or less many times, it will break, so, and I didn't do it. This is the way it was. I just for the first time opened these units. Now this is the passenger side. This is, I can fix the wires there already in place. Everything else on it just seemed to be okay, but again, I need to test this. Now the driver's side unit. Now the driver's side unit, pretty much same story, but a little better. Connector was cut open, so I assume they soldered directly inside the connector. Wires go all the way in, so that's kind of a good news, because there will be no shorts inside the connector. On the board itself, the problem here with the board is it does not have plastic holder for the board, so the board just sits there loose. It's not a good thing, because you would like to have this board to sit into its grooves to remain steady. Like this one, for example, you see this plastic piece right here. It goes inside and basically holds the board in place. I can remove it. As you can see, this piece is supposed to be in there as well, just like that. But I guess whoever did it, I don't know, it doesn't even fit in there. They probably made wires too long, and the edges of the wires here stick out too much, and see these things right there, so the board cannot go over, it just touches. I don't know, maybe that was the reason why they never put it back. Whatever the case is, This is one thing that I see wrong with it. Just want to document what I'm doing here. See, this is how it's supposed to be. Hold the board on top, no touching with the gear, so the board does not fall down like this one. If it's inside the place here, it can just touch the gear. So when it touches the gear, obviously it's not a good idea. Okay, another problem here, what I find with driver's side unit, is the actual motor. The motor itself is original, and it's actually quite hard to turn. It's like stuck in there, which is a common problem on these units. As this one is actually pretty easy to turn because they opened it already. This one is not easy to turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate you the operation of motors, because I know this motor needs to be repaired because it's tight. It's not stuck all the way, but when it gets hot, I'm sure it's going to get too tight and it's not going to work. So I need to address this motor. Now, first things first, so what I have here is I have my power supply. As you can see, it's set at a very low voltage. It's about only 2 volts, very low. These motors supposed to turn at about this voltage to start turning. You will know if the motor turns at about 2 volts, it's good. As you can see, this one is turning, so I can say that at least this motor does work. 2 volts, very low voltage, and it does work, because it was probably stuck, so they changed brushes. I don't know what they did, but whoever worked on it, but at least this motor works. Even if this connection moves, it's okay if it does. It's not bad, it's not really big deal, but the motor works at least. So we'll go to the next one. So I'm gonna take this clip off and I'm gonna connect it to this one, and I'm going to energize this. So you can see the spark. Motor just spun a little bit, but it's not turning anymore. You see, it just sparks, a tiny little spark. That's why I make it in a kind of a dark setting here, so you can see the spark. See that spark? If I spin the motor a little bit, I'll probably be able to see how it's barely moving. So I know there is a problem in here for sure. So this has to be addressed. See, if I move it and I maybe help it a little bit, I can get it to turn a little bit. See, there you go. And it stops. Not like it's a big problem, because the motor never sees 2 volts. The big problem is when it gets hot, and even at higher voltage that it receives from the control module, it's not going to turn because it's going to seize up. It's going to get hot and it's going to expand and it's going to start working. So this motor, see, it's spinning, but as you can see, it's just terrible. It's like there, and it stops because it gets stuck. So imagine running it like 100 Celsius, it's going to get stuck 100%. So it has to be checked out. See, now it's spinning. It got stuck. So if you look at this one is very happy motor, because it doesn't spark, it just spins. I give it some voltage, it spins evenly. You can look at the gear. So it does work much nicer. Also, you can feel the way these motors spin. Like this one is easy, this one is hard. See, I can imprint gears into my fingers, like how hard I have to press on it to turn. You see that? This one I can just barely barely touch it and it just spins. Even with finger like this, I can still spin it. This one I have to press so hard to spin because this motor is tight. Okay, so basically consensus here is that the motor has to be done. This one I would like to open and see what was done to it, make sure brushes are okay. I have to grind down this gear. I have to redo the wires, couple of them at least, because for example this one, like I told you before, is barely holding on. Let me try to zoom onto it very closely. You can see this wire is just terrible, so this has to be redone. I move it 3-4 times and it's gone. I don't know what's happening under the board because I didn't open it up, I didn't take it out, but I don't believe anything good happens there as well. It's like soldering is very poor. I'm going to preserve this connector right here because this is the same printout as on your car. I cannot say what it has to be because this is not original, but I'm just gonna keep these wires the way they are made to this connector. I do not really have many of these spares. I mean, I only have ones for my bench test. I would sell you the connectors, I would put them together, but again, it's already cut off on the car. You already have this cut off on the car, so you don't know colors, so therefore it's not really good to replace it at this point. Just hope that this connector is proper correspondence of the wires going for each pin to the throttle body, and then from the other side that goes to the car, make sure that that one is okay. But just to hope that that's correct, and I guess it was correct.